Hello and welcome back to our Planet Coaster Harder Challenge Mode series. We are here in episode 32, so we are quite a ways in. But if you are new to the series, this is a series we play on the challenge mode of Planet Coaster. We've added a couple extra rules to make it a little bit more difficult for us. So those just popped up on the screen there for you. But they don't come into too much play here in this episode. But what you can see we're working on now is we are adding in a new flat ride next to the Wicked Wolf, and we have several failed attempts at how we are going to put this flat ride into the park. So the first couple versions of this we do not use at all. We eventually will completely change the way our thought process is. The idea for this first one is to have the creek have a split off, and underneath the bridge it would be a little dam with a little small waterfall of the water running into the main creek that heads back out to the main river, and it just doesn't work. I could not get it. The paths, obviously here I'm struggling with the paths quite a bit, but just not getting something that I was going to like. So we will eventually scrap this, but we do use eventually I get sick of trying to work with the paths, so I will do the fencing around the attraction, and we will use that for the actual attraction. So that will stick around, and I'll let you know when we get to that. But, you know, the idea for this I thought was pretty good. I thought we were going to have a nice little area here. We would be able to hide the ground, because obviously you can't do a waterfall. It's going to be a different level of water on the top level. Which is what runs between the flat ride and Wicked Wolf there. I thought we were going to be able to hide it, and it just wasn't looking right to me. So the best decision for us, I think, was to just change everything out. So yes, a lot of path work here. The Planet Coaster path work was really getting to me here. It just was not functioning the way I needed it to function. And now you can see that we're even struggling to get the terrain work underneath the paths. So we have to then delete everything that we just did. But it ends up working out eventually. So we actually get pretty far with this as well. To the point where I was almost ready to start putting rocks and stuff to cover up the ground underneath the little bridge here. And there you can see what was really the defining factor was I couldn't get the water up any higher. I wanted it to be a little bit closer to the path level, and it just wasn't going to work for me. So you can see we've already significantly made that smaller. Of course, we're expanding it now because we're still going to try and see where we can get with this. This is our closest part, I believe, to this before we skip out and try and find a different way to get this to work. But, you know, we might try that again in the future in a different area of the park. The next thing that we wanted to do is a failed attempt at trying to make this flat ride look like a tree. And, you know, we used the tropical routes in our first attempt here. And it was just covering up too much of the actual ride mechanism for me to be happy with. And, you know, when I put the tree portion on the top, I was like, you know what, this kind of looks a little weird. Because there was no branches underneath it, so it just looked like a big giant wooden lollipop in the middle of the park. So we quickly remove those, and then we start getting to work on the fence here. And I'm really, really pleased with the way this fence turns out. I think it's very unique, and it looks really good. So this what you're seeing here, this actually stays in the build. Obviously, there's a couple iterations as I'm working to build this, but I did want it to be a little bit different. This is an attraction that, of course, if you've read the title, it's going to be named Falcon, so it's going to have like a little bit of a loose bird theme, which kind of fits in with the attraction, the Rising Raptor attraction that this is. So, and you know, I actually really like these rides in real life. I've only ever known of one of them to exist, and it was at Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is a park that I used to work at when I was younger. And I was actually trained to operate this ride. I didn't operate it very much, but I did know how to, so it was I just wanted this whole thing to have like a little bit of a birdcage feel, so that's why you have the chain link fence. I kind of felt like that kind of looked like a net. Obviously, we're not going to extend that up high, so it's not going to encase the ride, but also with the bars on the side, it just adds a little bit extra dimension. We obviously shrink it down a little bit, so it's not too large there, but we go ahead, we start doing our rotating to get all of the pieces in here, and you know what, I think it looks really good. Now, I did want to have lights around the outside here, and I can't remember, I guess I thought that I copied over the lights that were over on the that we brought in from the Steel Eagle Courtyard, but I guess I didn't. I guess I made my own here. I didn't remember that. So we get those in, duplicate those around, just so we can have some lighting in the area, and then we try and line up the paths, because I'm still thinking I'm gonna keep this setup here, but obviously we significantly changed this. Which you can, of course, tell from the thumbnail of the video. So, back to pathing. This is me trying to figure out how this is going to work. We do expand the creek over on this side because I'm now starting to realize, you know, we're going to have to make some significant changes to the way this is working. For whatever reason, I have started testing the ride there. I don't know what that purpose was, but you know, I still wanted to see if I could get this tree idea to work. So we start using the big logs to give this the wooden texture and be a little bit more uniform, so it wasn't covering up as much of this mechanism, but it still is just a giant lollipop in the sky if we were to go ahead and do this. And you know, I'm trying a bunch of different trees here, and we were just going to rotate them around. I was going to try and shift them so they didn't look super uniform, but it just wasn't going to work. And we're going to soon completely scrap this idea. I think that's the last attempt at that we do here. And now you can see this is a big portion of the video. You can see we're starting to try and mess around with the height of the attraction. You can see we were struggling here with getting the paths to work all the way through, and you can see we just completely scrapped that version of the idea. And you know what? I say, you know what? We're gonna try and do a pad here for the attraction. For people to walk on, and this actually gets scrapped as well. You know, so you're seeing a lot of the trial and error process that I had in this episode, and you know, that's what ends up taking this episode such a long time. Now, we obviously, once we do find what we like and we get going, there's a lot of that as well, which is why this time lapse is pretty long. It's not as long as some of the previous episodes, but it certainly holds its own. But, you know, you can see when I start to cycle these pieces around, it just doesn't look right. Something's just not... It doesn't seem like it there's just something missing. And, you know, I knew if I was going to do that outer layer of wood that I was going to have to cover up the inside of it too. So we end up just scrapping that and say, you know what, let's try and see if we can work on these paths again, and see if we can get the wooden path covers at least. And that was the end of it. So you can see we've now completely filled in that little creek on the side there, and we are raising up the land to get to the level that this ride is actually going to sit at, and is the final version of this. So I was really concerned about how high I was going to make this. We actually, the ride itself is shorter than the default that it comes in, because you can change the height on these attractions. And I didn't want this to be a big part of the skyline. I mentioned this in the live portion as well. So it was just something that I wanted to be very conscious of. There is a very good sightline up the river from the different bridges that we've built, that this is going to, you're going to be able to see this attraction from. So again, it needs to be a little bit taller, but not high enough that, you know, you're going to see this from the front of the park or as part of the skyline, maybe up the very top portion of the skyline, if that. So the pathwork still a problem. You can see we finally got the entrance queue in there, but the exit queue is now becoming an issue. So you know, of course, when I'm building, I always try and make sure that it is going to be some type of ADA compliant for wheelchairs and things like that. And because of how high this was now going to be, that was not going to be super feasible with a ramp. And, you know, we have a large ramp with Empyrean, and that was, you know, that works. But you can see how that impacts the gameplay, and not having stairs there, because it has such a long down and back and down and back that it takes mechanics and a significantly longer time to get to the actual area that they need to go to repair the attraction. So we said, you know what, we're just going to do stairs here, and then we're going to find an alternate solution for guests that would be in wheelchairs that can't use stairs, whatever, etc. So we end up throwing in an elevator, and we'll do that here in a little bit, but we realized we screwed up our pathing for Wicked Wolf, so we have to fix that first. And you can see we're messing around with the terrain, because obviously if the terrain in Planet Coaster is slightly off, the paths get all wonky and bent out of shape. So you can see, there we go, we are finally getting this all sorted out, and we're going to get our queue in there, and then we can finalize our entrance queue here. And of course there was one little snag there where I couldn't get the priority pass queue in there, so we had to lose a little bit of our extended queue for that, but no big issues with that. So I also realized I messed up the entrance operator, their colors, so that's exciting that we had to go back and fix that. And now for maybe my least favorite part of this video, the path, both the entrance and the exit paths. And these take so long to do, to cover up everything and make it look presentable. And, you know, I wanted it to be something that was a little bit different. This isn't going to be connected or like the ground's not going to be up on this, so this is going to be a bridge area, but I didn't want it to be something so extravagant that it was going to be outrageous. I knew I wanted to do some type of custom fencing, because obviously if people are looking up the river at this is going to be one of the main things that they see. So we need to make sure that this looks very good and very presentable and very realistic for the most part, so that everything can just kind of mesh together. So you can see we're using ropes here. As I was doing this, the ropes stay, but we changed to the top level because obviously this is going to have a pretty significant drop off into the creek. So, you know, we have to put something that's a little more substantial at the top. So we add wooden beams instead of that top rope. And then of course we do keep we do keep the ropes in there, but we have them as I think we have 2 different ropes in the middle of the section here, which you'll see eventually. But I think it turns out really nice. Obviously the turns were a pain, and we use the what kind of wooden beams are those? The spooky wooden beams that we use in so much. We use those a lot in this build because they cover up a lot of stuff, which just means that it's less that I have to cover or less that I have to place. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with the way these look. I do try to minimize the pieces that are sticking out as much as I can. So you can see we're, again, covering up some imperfections there. There's always going to be imperfections, though, with this style of build, because there's so many things. You don't have the small pieces to be able to cover up what you need to. So, yeah, we just have to find a workaround for all of that. So, adding in little connection pieces for the ropes here. We still have not added the wooden beams on top for the additional structure. But we do continue to put in these large wooden spooky beams, which add just more support structure to the bridge itself. So now we're adding in some very smaller beams for this, and you know, there's not too much going on here. And actually, some of these get covered up with rocks later in the build. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to go too in depth with what was going on there. So again, still finishing up. Again, this took a long time to do this area, and we still have the exit, but the exit was significantly easier because it was just one set of stairs. So and that one's actually right up against the rock, so that made it a lot simpler and a lot quicker for us. Now, this little turn at the bottom, obviously it is elevated, or there is a slope to this little portion here. So we had to be aware and conscious of that as we go through, and it actually turned out a whole lot better than I thought it was going to. I thought that was going to be a pain to get through. But yeah, here we go. Moving all of the ropes, and we're going to make sure we got the colors correct. I thought about doing the fencing there, but that wasn't going to work right because of the way they would have been angled. So now you can see we've added the wooden structure beam to the top, and I just think it looks much better, especially with the little ropes underneath. I think it looks much more secure. It's going to be much safer for the people going up there. They can lean on it. Obviously, you don't want to sit on that because that's going to be a pretty significant drop off if you were to fall off of that. But, you know, there's some assumed risk for them, for our guests, if they're going to try and sit in that. So, once we get all of these in here, we start duplicating those over to the other side, just because it makes it a little bit easier to be able to duplicate things like that. We get these last couple corners on... Oh, we finish up the downslope, and then I think we're going to come back to those corners. And of course, it was the perfect spot that I couldn't use the 2H beams, so we had to use 1H and then make sure we offset them so we didn't have any Z fighting with those. So get those in there. Finish up this last little corner and just rearrange some of the heights on the ropes in between, just to make it a little bit more uniform for what we're building. Now, the next thing that we are going to jump into is the queue house on the bottom here, the extended queue. And of course, this is going to have a little concrete finish for the bottom, or concrete pad, if you will. And this actually turns out a lot better than I thought it was going to. I think this takes a significantly less time as well. So, of course, we line the outside of the concrete with wood, just to kind of give us that boundary, so we know where we're at here. We do have to sink in the concrete so we can see where we need to line up our poles so that they are going to function properly. The poles are going to be a little offset in the middle because of the way the queue works. And then I wanted the railings down here to be completely different than the railings going up the stairwell. So you can see we use these beams here. We have a floating railing on the bottom. So, you know, I think that's pretty common around the world, where you have the two beams and then obviously whatever's in the middle, whether it be decorative or just wooden beams like this, but that bottom beam not resting on the ground and being floating a little bit. So I think that adds a nice little touch. Maybe a little unnecessary for this, but it is going to be something that's seen as you go through the park. It's going to be pretty prominent because it's on that lower level. It's right up against the main path in this area. And then obviously anyone coming off of Wicked Wolf is going to be looking right at it. So it's definitely something that, you know, we need to be conscious of. And then in terms of the interior fences, just ropes. Nothing, the original style of rope that we were going to use for the stairs is what we use for the interior of the queue house here. So the next portion that we have is we're going to have to find a way to incorporate the entrance area here. Of course, we have to find a nice little area for our priority pass employee, staff member. So we box him in a little bit. I don't remember. I might change that here in the future. I don't remember if I do or not. But we go ahead and put in our little concrete pad extension here for the entrance. Not too concerned about how big this is. I know the path narrowed as it got to the end there. That's fine. There's no big deal with that. We do cover up the pylons there for the entrance. That's not something we do with all of our attractions, but we did do that with Wicked Wolf and Falcon here. I just felt like it was necessary. They stick out too much, so we went ahead and got that. We do extend our fancy railings here for this area, and you know, just work to try and get everything sorted out here. I do think we get rid of those solid wooden walls. I don't really think they're necessary here. I could be completely wrong though. Yeah, we completely get rid of them. We have the little gate there, so that's how we would get in and out. Theoretically, you wouldn't really even need a gate there, but to me it looked a little bit better with it, a little bit cleaner with it. And then just finishing up the little connection here to the stairs. Again, the way that it has to connect to the stairs with that little weird ramp piece it was just a weird thing that we had to work through. Obviously there was a part there that we didn't have the smallest piece, a small piece that was going to work right, so we had to find a workaround for that. And then, of course, the outside here is going to have pieces that are an adequate length that we can get that. And then I think we also get the ropes in on the bottom once we get everything tidied up and sorted out. Yeah, so we do add the ropes in here. And that's pretty easy to get all of that tidied up, just kind of sorting it out. Now, this next part, I was really debating why I wanted to do this. Obviously, I had an idea that we were going to either keep that as concrete on the bottom, but because this is sloped, I said, you know what, let's put in a bunch of wooden beams. And we will cover this up. Obviously, there's going to be little steps and gaps into this, but it's going to be a little bit easier. It's going to automatically remove the fact that there could potentially be Z fighting. There's not going to be any of that because I'm actively moving every piece. But then the stairs, I wanted those to be their own stairs as well. So you can see we are quickly making our way up the ramp here. We cover everything up with wooden beams, so this whole bridge now is completely wooden. And you know, I think it looks good. I don't think that you would notice the stairs going through the park, that they weren't different, or that they aren't wood, if I would have just left them. But you know, attention to detail is something that we focus on, so we get that. We get it all sorted out, and again, we were able to handle that little corner there and get that all sorted out. So moving on over to the exit, you can see we have to readjust the little exit queue there. Now, I did want there to be a merchandise stand at the bottom here, and I didn't want it to be balloons. I wanted it to be something different, and Just a Memento costs $900 a month to operate. Hats Fantastic is not $900 a month. I think it's $600 or $700. So I wanted to try and, I didn't want to have Just a Memento in there, but I did want to see if we could sell some hats. So we get Hats Fantastic in here, and this is actually going to be the building that connects to the elevator shaft that we're adding in here. So we add in a concrete pad here on the bottom, and you know, this obviously is not going to be functional since there's no elevators in the game like this, but you know, we just need to make it so it's something that is believable. And then, of course, because nothing's operating, it's not going to cost us anything aside from the building materials that we use to make the elevator shaft. And we don't even have to actually make the interior of it. So we quickly go ahead and do that. We did want to have a door into Hats Fantastic because, you know, I don't believe that in a real park, you're not typically going to be jumping over the counter to get in there. So that is definitely something that I didn't want to do. And then, of course, we do keep the same roof style as Wicked Wolf. We use one for a awning here on the side of Hats Fantastic. Currently, it is a little long. I want to say we sink that back in a little bit. Yep. And then we do have to angle a little bit to be in front of the elevator doors, because obviously you don't want the elevator doors to be getting hammered with rain if it were to rain, even though, of course, it doesn't rain in Planet Coaster. So we add little under pieces of wood there just to kind of tidy things up, and on the edge here. And really, this was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was really going to struggle with this, but it turns out being pretty nice. And this isn't going to be a high focus area. You're not going to see a lot of this. Of course, if you were in the queue for the area for Falcon, you're going to see it, but you're not going to be there that long. And because it's behind the queue housing for Falcon, it's not even going to be something that you you see walking along the path. So we don't spend a whole lot of time on the detail to this. Obviously, we wanted to make it look good, but there's things that we could have done differently that I think would have made it look better, but we just didn't need to. So we don't focus on that at all. And aside from the little bits and pieces, and then of course the elevator shaft, we have to decorate this a little bit, because since it is elevated and right at the entrance of the attraction, we do need to get that tidied up a little bit. So we focus on that. That did give me a pretty interesting idea. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted how visible I wanted this elevator shaft to be, but because of the way it's oriented, I didn't really leave myself much choice. You'll see at some point when I start adding in trees and whatnot, I do add a tree in front of this, a rather large tree, to try and block this, because I was like, you know what, this is just an elevator shaft. We're not going to want this to be super visible to our people that are coming through the area here. But it doesn't, that tree, it was fine. I don't think it looked bad by any means. And it could definitely be something realistic that I could see a park doing. But it just wasn't something that I thought we needed to do. So, and again, when we add this tree in, I think we only add like one tree in, because it's before we actually do the foliage for the rest of the area. So we only do a small portion. We only do a small portion just to kind of get a feel for what it looks like, and it sits there for a while until we build the logo, which you then eventually see at the end of the time lapse here. So now in terms of our Hats Fantastic stall, I didn't want to do anything too outrageous with this. We did want to have the Hats Fantastic logo on the front. Of course, I think we add a awning to this at some point. Maybe. We'll see in the future. So we go back, we tidy up, we put some fences in here that would be necessary, because we wouldn't want people to go through, because there is a drop off on the other side of the queue there. And you can see we just have to tidy up some little areas. Obviously this wasn't on the ground, so we have to put in some covers for the curbs there. Even though the wooden curb wasn't too bad and would fit into the area, I just didn't want to deal with that. So especially it looked inconsistent. It was a different color than the rest of the curb coverings. So we focus on changing that around. Now, we do add a little gate here that people in wheelchairs or that are going to use the elevator would use to get back there. And that's just to deter people that are coming down or looking at Hats Fantastic, that there's nothing down there for them to go see, more or less just a dead end or the elevator there. So the exit here, this, like I said, this is significantly easier. Obviously I've gotten a little bit of a rhythm for building these railings and whatnot, so we get through it a whole lot quicker. And boy, does that make me happy, because this was maybe the least favorite part of the build for me. And it's just so tedious placing every single piece down, and it's not like you can duplicate a lot in this process. So, but you can see we're going through this process at a slow rate, and this is still sped up quite a bit. I still speed things up 10 times what the speed is, and you know, I try and get things lined up pretty well, so it's a very slow process for me to build, which is why it takes so long to get these episodes out. But it's hard to argue with the way it looks at the end, so I'm happy to do it. And you know, it makes me feel so much better once it's actually done and we get things, we finally get to move on to the next part of the park. So yep, just tidying up here. nothing too crazy. That kind of looks like it's a little off, but maybe not. I don't know. Like it was angled a little bit. It doesn't look too bad there, so it must have just been the way we were looking at it. And then, of course, getting in the last pieces on the outside of this turn. And again, this path has rocks underneath it. So, and those rocks come up pretty close here, so it's not that elevated off of the ground or the rocks in this scenario. So, and it does cover up some of the pits that you can't bring the terrain up to. So, you know, I think that kind of fits in pretty nice for the area. And you can see we're nearing the end. We're just finishing up some of those little wooden workarounds for gaps that I wasn't going to be able to get. And then, of course, we add in our wooden beams for the stairs. And this does not take all that long because we are able to duplicate things because the stairs are very nice and uniform, and because I'm building the stairs using the stairs to make sure everything's covered, it really goes pretty quickly. And then, of course, this part's a little more tedious than I expected because you have to move every beam, and then because so many beams are overlapping, it's a really good chance that you're going to have some Z fighting. But once we get to the end, we are able to get all of that sorted. We just have to tidy up some of the outside of this, and then the inside we're not too concerned about there. So now back to the Q housing. The reason I didn't do the roofing for this is I wanted to be able to see as I was working on the Hat's Fantastic in the elevator area. But again, this is going to stick with the same roof style that we have for Wicked Wolf and the carousel and more, really, at this point. So we go ahead, we get these in here. This style is actually very easy to do. It's annoying for the first couple of placements, but once you get it in, you get everything tidied up. Of course, we're going to have the extra pieces here that we have to duplicate and whatnot, but once you get all of these pieces in, you can select everything, duplicate it, rotate it around, and just line everything up. And then once you have the one half, you select everything again and just cycle it right down and get all the way to the end of the building. Now, I didn't want to go all the way out, so you can see that our staff member there is covered, but only just. Like, he is just barely under that. So that is something that, you know, I knew was going to be a thing, but, you know, well, I think it covers them enough that we don't need to worry about it. And then, of course, some cross beams underneath here. I wanted to go with a double cross beam design here. And of course, I wanted to put another beam in there just to kind of make it seem a little bit more supported there. And those did come up through the top there. So now what we're looking at is I was going to try and do some of the major waterfall that we're now adding back along the other side of the attraction here, and we started running out of money. So we had a spot where we were paused. I thought we were going to be able to make money. I didn't realize how expensive these jets are, these water jets. It's like $20 a jet, and we were placing a ton of them. So you know, they always look great when they're done, and this is no exception. Like, I'm really pleased with the way this turns out. You know, there's some areas that I still think we could update this, but you know, I'm pretty pleased with the way it is currently. So we go in. We're now starting to get into our foliage, and you can see we've added rocks all the way around here. And it's just time to add in some of these little extra green pieces in here. Of course, the creosote plants get to be in here as well. And you know, it just kind of it flushes the area out, makes it look a little bit more overgrown, a little bit more realistic for a forest area that we have here. So yeah, this doesn't take that long. I mean, it's just randomly placing a bunch of trees and rocks and stuff like that. We do fill in some of the taller trees. You can see we did put the taller tree in there in front of the elevator, which I thought I did that earlier, so maybe I didn't. Maybe I did that off camera just to kind of see. But you can see that one taller tree just kind of seems a little out of place, which of course it's not in the screen there. But you know, we leave that go, and then it's time to go over to our building grave zone, because we're going to build the sign for this attraction. And this is a sign that I could not envision in my head before I started building. So, you know, I was looking through a bunch of different photos and logos and things like that, and, you know, trying to find something that I thought was going to look good. And I finally settled on one, and I think it turned out really, really cool. And you can see we're starting to, it's actually a combination of two different logos. So we are working on the F now for Falcon, and trying to get everything just to line up just a little bit better was just the way we needed to get it done. So you can see we are using a bunch of tricks here to try and get this to tidy up. And now you can see we're going to start to build a little area out here, and this is going to be like a little falcon with the wing coming out on the top or back, or however you want to say it. So I think the F actually turns out pretty nice. But when we start putting in the rest of the font, this is all a custom font. So this is not a TMTK item that I've downloaded. This is a all art shape design in game that I made on my own with inspiration from some images off the World Wide Web. So, but the font itself, I think it looks really clean, and a lot cleaner than I was expecting it to look. So, again, I don't know why this pleased me as much as it did, but you know, it looks really good. And then, you know, I was like, you know, maybe we should try and keep the angle from the F going throughout the theme here, and you know, that does not look as clean. So we quickly backtrack out of that. Of course, we have to find a way to level that off on the top there, and then I wanted something different to be up here on the top. So I was like, well, what if we did some type of like eagle eyes or hawk eyes or falcon eyes? So we got to work with this. Obviously the blue doesn't stay around, but this actually turns out a lot better than I expected to. You can't really tell that they're some type of bird eye, but you know, I think with falcon next to it, I think it's good enough. So we work on trying to find different ways to get this in there. We make a giant little white eyebrow there, and then of course we rotate that around, and then that is just a process of making sure we move the pieces into the same, like we're just reversing it a little bit. So you can see it kind of does look like some, I mean, it's definitely eyes, but what kind of eyes? We'll let that up for you. So, you know, it's going to be right across from the wolf raccoon that we built. So, you know, it oddly fits to that type of theme, if that's what we go for. So, but now it's, we're trying to add a background here. We realign the eyes to be even. I think it looks really clean for the most part here. We do have to realign where some of the pieces are, which is a little bit annoying. We do cut off the bottom of the letters there, and that was intended to kind of give it all that flat feeling on the bottom. And then, of course, we make it white because the yellow seemed a bit too much. but we do add a little yellow backdrop, and then we add another black one there. And I'm not sure why I did that. I thought I actually removed that, but actually I think once I recorded the live portion, that actually stayed in there. So again, I think this turned out really, really nice. I think it has a really good feel to it, and I think it fits in the area well. So now what you see here, that's still not the final product, but we do get that placed in. So obviously we place the sign down by the entrance of the attraction. We add in some little bushes just to kind of fill in the area, and then that's when we go back to the elevator shaft, and I decide, you know what, let's get rid of this tree, and let's put our Falcon sign in there, because again, it's one of the cleanest logos I've created in a long time, and it didn't have much Z-fighting, it didn't have weird art shape flickers coming around. So let's put this on the elevator shaft and make it look like this elevator shaft was planned right from the beginning, and that, you know, we were going to put this logo here so people could see it. So we eventually do that. Apparently we rotate where our operator booth is to get that away from the elevator, because I felt like that was a little too close to the elevator. And then the last little piece that we edit on the sign here is we just change those eyebrows a little bit to make them less obtrusive, and it makes it look a lot meaner than just the big ovals. So last couple pieces here is just finishing up the lighting in the area. You know, I think we tried a couple different areas with the lighting. I think I eventually moved some of the lighting that are on the entrance queue to avoid obstructing the view of the Falcon sign that's on the elevator queue. Our lighting for the signs obviously turns out really well here, and there we go. We're finally have removed that tree. We do put in a smaller tree, but one that's not going to obstruct any view. But we are quickly running out of time for the time lapse, so I'll let you finish this up, and I'll see you in the live portion. Welcome to the live portion of today's video, and boy am I happy with the way this build has turned out. And I was really struggling at the beginning, which I'm sure I mentioned in the time-lapse portion, of what I was going to do with this area, but you can see we've got the Rising Raptor in here, and we are going to name it Falcon, and this is maybe one of my favorite logos that I've ever made, at least in Planet Coaster, with the restrictions that you have from that. But yeah, we did quite a bit of work. We made quite a big elevation change here for this ride, and it is only going to be this ride that's up here. So obviously there's stuff that's going to come back around here, but in this specific pad, it's only going to be the Falcon. So yeah, it took a little bit of time to get everything laid out. Obviously messing with the pathways, the rock. We did the waterfall over here, which actually cost a lot more money than I thought it was going to. We got the extended queue, and of course we have the exit ramp. We added another shop in here, and you know, I thought this was a nice little area to squeeze in a shop. So I think it's close enough to the exit of Wicked Wolf that, you know, as people get off Wicked Wolf, they're going to see this and want to go buy a hat, hopefully, and that's something a little bit different. We only have one of those in the park so far, so hopefully that can start to make us some money. And then, of course, there's a lot of stairs here, so we had to find a way for our guests with disabilities to get up, so we put in a little elevator shaft to get people up here. Now this is a little bit unrealistic. There would have to be some type of landing here. Maybe it would be off to the side to come over this way or whatnot, but you know, because of the way Planet Coaster works, there's so much space here. I said, you know what, let's just put it in. We'll just say the elevator would stay here until the operator said it was safe to open the door. So, yeah, added in a bunch of trees here for the wooded area of this part of the park. So that kind of gives a nice little backdrop, kind of nestles the ride in a little bit more. Of course, it is a Falcon, so it needs to be elevated up some. It is a small version of this ride. It's actually smaller than the default version. And I just didn't want something that was going to be towering. We already have some very big rides in the park here, so I didn't want another one quite yet. So this one, it does stick out. You can see it from pretty far away, but you can only see the top portion of it. I think we can see it. Yeah, you can see it just kind of towering over there. So overall, and you get a nice view of it down the river here. So yeah, I really like the way that turns out. I didn't realize how good you could see the sign here. So I was debating on whether I was going to put the sign here or not. But I figured this tree was the tree that I had here was kind of blocking that view, so you know, I'm glad that we changed it around. And obviously, we have one right here by the entrance as well, which is a little redundant, but you know, I think it's fine here. So yeah, I am super pleased with the way that's turned out. We do have quite a bit of work to do. I think this is going to really start to help this area. I think it's going to help Wicked Wolf a lot, which obviously Wicked Wolf, hold on, let's pull up our HUD here. Whoa, Wicked Wolf does not have the greatest prestige. It's already dropped to 857, which is a little sad because it's been losing money because it's not drawing the people over here. It's lost us $25,000, but realistically, the residual revenue that we've had from Wicked Wolf, where it just boosted our park rating significantly, those people are heading to other parts of the park. So Empyrean obviously is still getting a bunch of people. Crankshaft, Steel Eagle, the air traffic control tower, which is still losing us money, which is fantastic. The aerial attack, which is still doing really well, but it's more or less filling in some of the flat rides here, getting more people into these queues so we can make some more money that way. So I'm pretty happy with that. You can see we're up to $5,000, and I really only let it run a month because I did some minor testing for Falcon. I also added in speakers for these safety spiels, which I just went and updated here. The last thing here, I debated on what I wanted to do for the actual pad for Falcon, if I wanted to do a custom path covers or not. And I decided against it. I thought that this gray gravel concrete was a nice enough thing that we could have here, so we left that in there. If you think I need to change that, please let me know, but you know, I think it looks pretty good. So but anyway, let's jump into our management features, because I have a few things that I want to try here. So let's get in here. Our park management, happiness 100% for our guests. That's great. Staff summary 99% there. Most profitable attraction is Steel Eagle. Most profitable shop is Propeller's Smoothies. So those are pretty expected. Now, jumping ahead there. Graphs, we're not going to take a look into that. Ticket prices. We actually will. Our priority pass is up to $11. I think we can start to increase this a little bit here. So I'm going to move this up to $15. Now let's do, you know what, let's do 15. Let's see what happens if we do $15 for the priority pass, we have quite a few attractions that this would be significantly helpful on, especially rally racers, which now has a full queue basically the entire time. So let's take a look at that and see. Wow, we are making some serious money here. So we'll see if that starts to help out the ticket stalls. I can't remember what they're called. Wow, we had $14,000 in rides and tickets in August. So that is fantastic. Coasters had a really good month. Rides had a really good month. Small attractions lost money when you add them up. So there's that. Priority pass sales, we're still not making a whole bunch on priority pass sales, but hopefully people will start to buy those now that we're going to have another attraction that we can use it on. Everything else, yeah, looks pretty okay there. Shops and stalls, we know this is it's not necessarily a problem because sometimes we do make money with our shops and stalls, which is wild, because we have a lot of not facility sales, but running costs and facility running costs. So that I'm pretty pleased with. Our hotel's doing really well, so I'm happy with that. Park management, we know that's going to be a negative. And our scenery running cost has actually gone up since we added in the waterfall. So our loans, we don't have any loans. Graphs, we don't have any graphs. Or we do have graphs. We're just not going to go over them. Our research, there's no research. Marketing, our cereal box advert ended because I didn't have enough money at one point to continue with it. So we will go right back to that and get that back open, get the auto renew rolling, and we have $10,000, which is wild. So we got the advertisement running again, our staff, and as always, if you are interested in becoming a part of the park, please let me know where you want to work in the comment section, and we will get you hired in here at whatever role you want. You can pick one color. I'll go ahead and work that into the wardrobe as well. But yeah, I hope to see more of you coming into the park. We've already got quite a few people in here. We have 4 different people in our as entertainers. We got Daniel, K-Dancer, Alfian, Clano, and Clano Moraine. So they're all doing great work. We don't really need another entertainer, so we're just going to continue right on past that. Our janitors for fancy people. Again, after the updates that we made from the last episode, I think we're pretty okay with what we got here. You can see we got the forest roster assignment, so that, we're just doing all right here. Now, this is where I want to make some big changes to the way we are operating. So this one's going to take a little bit longer, so you're going to have to bear with me while we go through this. And I may cut out some of this because it is going to take me a little bit longer. But if we go ahead and sort by who we have around here, we have 4 people over in the Steel Eagle Courtyard. So that is handling the 2 shops of Corky's Courtyard Barbecue and the Steel Eagle gift shop. So, actually, is that? It might actually not even be that anymore. I might have... Let's see. Yeah, there's only 2 shops. So we have 4 people assigned to these 2 shops right over here. That doesn't make sense. But what we're going to do, because if we sort this by profit, yeah, Corky's Barbecue isn't getting any business. And it's just because we haven't built anything over here. It's really just a dead end, which is going to change here in the future because we're going to start expanding down into this area. But it's just losing us $600 regularly. So we are going, let's pause this for a moment because we're going to close both of those, which frees up 4 vendors for us to move around to the park. And we're not going to fire these vendors. We are going to repurpose them because obviously we have a new shop out over here for Falcon. And then, we do have the 2 shops here that are not open. We also have the balloon shop here for rally racers. So that gives us a lot of options to be able to adjust and handle that. So that is something we will keep in mind. Now, the main entrance, this has 8 shops. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I think we have 6, 7, and 8 right in here. Yeah, so we have 6, 7, 8 shops just in this one building alone. And our guest service, we only have 1 open on the outside and 2 open on the inside. There's not really much to change with those. We have 7 staff members here. I wish I could readjust to see how that one works. Yeah, so we got 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that's pretty reasonable. They don't need to be open all the time because we're just losing the money on those anyway. So I'm pretty pleased with the way that the main entrance is working out for us. So I don't think there's any issue with that. Now, the next one, we have front of park inside. This has 9 shops. Oh, what shops does this have? So we got 1, 2 over here, 3, 4 here, 5, 6 here, 7, 8 here, and then we did move the Steel Eagle gift shop because of it being the proximity to the staff building here. So we have a whole bunch of shops here. Now this is where we're going to start to make some big changes. So the shops that are a little bit further away, and actually we're not even going to do it like that. So let me just pull up the park entrance inside. Now we are going to set a preferred shop assignment rather than just the entire roster assignment. So the first one we're going to set this person over to Cosmic Cow Milkshakes. So that changes the roster assignment, which is fine. We need Russell Darling over to Cosmic Cow Ice Cream. These 2 are not open because they just constantly lose us thousands of dollars for whatever reason. Now Gina Boyce is going to get this Pip Shot Juice. Rosetta Bolden is going to Pizza Pen. Amy, I don't know what her last name was. Tracy Golden over to Gulpy. And then that's going to leave us with quite a few people still left at the front of the park here. So that's all these people will just rotate on where they are going to. Oh no, wait, we need one more. All right, so that we have 4 people now that can go and give breaks to all of these people, so they can just hopefully figure that out on their own, and we'll have less time. We really don't have an issue with this area of the park because they're all so close to the front, and we have so many extra people in this area because of the traffic and whatnot that I don't think we're going to have an issue with that. So let's move on to our next work roster. The Matford Airfield, we got 8 shops over here. So this is where we're going to, I think, start to see some improvement because Propeller's Smoothies tends to be empty a lot. Wing It doesn't tend to be because it's right there. Baggage balloons inside here definitely empty quite a bit, so we need to address those. So let's go ahead, let's get into our Matford Airfield vendors. So we have to find them in here. Here we go. Now we do have quite a few of them that are trained up a little bit here. So we're going to start at the bottom. So we'll start with baggage balloons. Now this is also going to screw everything up here while all the vendors try to get to their shops. So that should be fun. But I think overall it'll be better. So yeah, so you can see we already have one shop that's completely empty. We are actually going to put 2 vendors on baggage balloons in here. So I should have done that before I went to the other one, but so we have 2 vendors there, so they will be able to rotate themselves out to try and keep them fresh. So I think that will work better. Now, Rusty, we'll put him in Hayasushi. Roberta, over to Gulpy Slush. Here, now these are getting a little bit further away here. So, Daphne, Wing It, Tiki Cheeky. I feel like these aren't included in this. So we might have to actually let's check before we go too far here. So Matford Airfield. Oh no, they definitely are. Yeah. So okay, so we do have some people there. We also wanted to get people out of the Steel Eagle Courtyard. So let's take Marissa and put Marissa over here. Wing It. We will do Ethel over here. And then we do want one of our more seasoned members to be at Propellers, because that is a little bit further away. So there we go. And then we're actually going to move one more of our Steel Eagle Courtyard over to the Matford Airfield. So then we still have 2 left. You know what, let's just put him Forest for now, because I think that will make that'll be a little bit better for us. So moving on, we have the side entrance. There are 2 shops. We have 4 staff members for that. Yeah, we just have 2. I think that's fine. I'm not going to change those. Again, they're tickets, and they don't see a whole lot of business, so I'm not worried about those shops being empty. Plus, the building's right there, so I'm not too concerned. Park Center, we definitely have some areas here. Now, we're actually going to remove rally racers here. So the only shops that we have at this point are right over here in Staristas, and they actually, as we readjust this, where's our park entrance? Park Center. We got 3 there. I think that's fine. I don't think there's any need to reassign them. It's all right in that building, so I think we're all right with that one. And then the last one is the Forest, which doesn't have a name yet. And actually I should show that. So that we have Wicked Wolf. We do actually need to add those in. We have Rally Racers. We have the whatever this building's called, the Skyride building, and then we did add in Sears Squad, just because there's going to be people there. They have to walk past that, and this is actually a big walk to the staff building, which is all the way back in Staristas currently. That's obviously going to change in one of the upcoming episodes here, actually probably the next episode. But for now, we need to address it, because I'm going to be running about 4 years of the simulation here before the next episode. So let's reset our thing here. Now, Steel Eagle, we are going to reassign this person to the Hat's Fantastic, which we'll have to rename. We have one more that we are going to reassign over here to the baggage. Now you see these are closed, so we're going to have to open these. And then we also have the forest. Where is forest person? Do I want to keep this guy as a forest and not open up? I don't think I want to open up these two yet. So we'll just leave him as Burl is the person to give breaks to everyone. So we'll see how that does, and we'll go from there. Now, mechanics, we don't have any need to change that. Security guards, which is good. Our work rosters, we just went through that, so those are good now too. So let's go ahead and play this. Alright, so now as we get in through this, we may have to make some changes in the next episode, but it should be alright for now. We're obviously making some money. I think with us closing down the Corky's Courtyard Barbecue, that's going to be at least $800 that we're saving. So I think we should be better off there. Now, in terms of our guest happiness, we do have a lot of family groups, but that's what we've been promoting because they tend to spend a little bit more money. However, teen groups are starting to spend a little bit more. They spend less time in the park, so technically they might actually be more beneficial for us to put some money into trying to get them into the park. But nothing to worry about at the moment. We got a lot of people that are thirsty. Litter is disgusting, so I don't know where that issue is. So I'll have to take a look and see if I can find that. Our attractions. Now this is going to have some good numbers in here. Steel Eagle did really well for us. And we are going to refurbish. I'm going to refurbish everything since it's a new episode. You can see we do have some big wear and tear here. So I'm not going to do it until they start to break down. So we'll do all of that here. We'll definitely do Steel Eagle, Empyrean, Crankshaft. We are not going to do Baggage, Carousel, Solar Eclipse. It definitely needs it. And actually, that one I should probably do now. Also, this is now Classic. That went at the end of the last one, so we're just going to shift that right down to 1125, which gets us back in compliance with our rules. But that one definitely needs to... Oh, wow, that made $1,200 last month. Holy crap. That one definitely needs to be refurbished. So that will definitely be happening. You can see we're starting to get all the... Shop has been empty for so long, and that's because people are moving around, so... Yep, we're going to lose a little bit of money because of that, but that's fine. Stunt Pilot, I don't think we need to refurbish that. Aerial Attack, I don't think we need to refurbish that. Rally Racers, doing great for us. Carousel's doing just fine. Hercules is fine. Air Traffic Control Tower, it's getting close to posting a profit, so that's new. So, we're not going to touch that because it may change its mind. Alright, so here we go. Hyper Jump is obviously not open. Rising Raptor, let's go ahead and we are going to get this open. I've already tested it. I've made some changes here to the ride sequence, so this is what we're running. You can get it higher, but I felt like 800 to 900 is really like the sweet spot for flat rides, because then you're drawing people in, but it's not being excessive. So, because they're really not that good at drawing or getting through people. So, we'll go ahead, we'll change our minimum rider load and our maximum. We do have the priority pass, which, because there's a pretty long line up to the ride itself, we're going to put that as a high priority. We've already got the colors set up, we can charge $15 because this is not a classic ride yet. And I think we've got it all set up here. So we'll go ahead, we will get that open. That is officially open. We did get it here in year 160, which is good. It's a little late, but you know, it's still, we got it. So balloon flight, I lost $90. That's insignificant. We're not worried about that. Obviously, the parking tram lost us money. That's fine. Wicked Wolf, we finally changed the colors that I forgot to do in the last episode. So it's got a gray train with red back, so I think that looks really nice. We also have it so it's only one train operating at the moment. It just doesn't need to. If we start to get a line because people are coming over to ride Falcon, and this starts to pick up a line, once it breaks down, I'll put 2 on and it'll stay with 2 for pretty much all of eternity. So that was more or less to try and save on some of the car costs, because I knew this wasn't going to make money itself. So that was our compromise for that. It should make money eventually here. It might be a while, but we should start to see it to make money. Now, Skyride, that we know is going to lose money. Scissor, that's weird that lost money, so it must have broke down. I'm not concerned about that. Our shops, let's see. All pretty good for what we thought it was going to be. Nothing out of the ordinary, and I'm interested to see how our changes will impact this. Our facilities, obviously. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We have to open up our Hat's Fantastic, which is Falcon. That's fantastic. We don't really need a name for this because it doesn't have a name. So we'll do that. We will get that open. Burl's on his way. We do need to put our signs here. There we go. And we'll get the baggage. I think I've actually... Yeah, I've already done that, so we just need to get this open. Maybe. There we go. Yeah, so we got those opened up now. I don't think we have anything else that we need to worry about at the moment. Staristas, that's all going to be fine. Everything else, obviously Corky's is going to close. So, or those are already closed, so we don't need to worry about that. Our facilities are fine. Our small attractions, at least one of them's making money, but really it's not that important. Our hotel, doing quite well. Sear Squad is getting closer to reopening, and that actually reminds me I should probably accept this. I did open it, and I think this was finished like 2 episodes ago. We easily got 21 people to visit our restaurant for 1 month, and we were still losing money. So we completed that challenge, so we get an extra $1,000. So there's that. We're not going to reopen it now, though. It's just too soon, I think. We got to get some more people coming out there. So other than that, our security management, we've got a lot of pickpocket victims in parks, and maybe we should hire another security guard. Let's go ahead and do that here quick. There we go. And we should just go out here to Jiu-Jitsu DJ. Now, who's our new guy? Sandy Irwin. Welcome to the team, Sandy. get him to wear black. There we go. And we'll leave him free roam. We don't really care where he goes at the moment. We'll let him do his thing so he can see if he can start to catch people in his training days. Other than that, cameras, those are just fine. We don't have a lot of cameras because they are expensive. In our crime statistics, nothing's broken down, so we have addressed whatever that issue was a couple episodes ago. Our sequences, those are fine. We have quite a few speakers in the park now, which is fine. And our billboards, obviously, they are fine as well. So overall, I do think this was a good episode here. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like. If you saw something I could have done better, let me know in the comment section. And if you want to see some more awesome Planet Coaster content, please subscribe to the channel. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.